Peace. This is Brother Faheem. You're now tuned in to the Lead with Logic podcast. Hey, you know the vibes. Welcome back. This is your gracious and most humble host, Brother Faheem. You're now tuned into another episode of the Lead with Logic podcast. Man, for those of you guys who are just now tuning into my uh, most supreme and elite podcast, let me introduce myself. As I said, Brother Faheem, and I'm the gracious and humble host. And what I do here is I take the controversial, sensational, and mundane, and through objective data, that means books, literature, articles, peer-reviewed journals, interviews, books. Excuse me, I already said books. Documentaries, documentary clips. I extract the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding from these things so that people can live life in 3D and their enlightenment can be enhanced. I tell people this is a brand, a saying, and a podcast, right? The brand is Lead with Logic, right? You guys see it. Oop. And that's the logo. And that stands for letting enlightenment and divinity win in this harsh level of God's infinite creation. The brand, you can find the gear, right? These hats, these shirts, you can find the gear on leadwithlogic7.com. Leadwithlogic7.com. I'm going to put it up. It's going to be on the screen. But that's where you can go and find the gear. You can patronize. Man, in a day and time where being a sapiosexual is so trendy, is so in vogue. Also, man, who does not like intelligence? Who is not drawn toward logic, reasoning, and rationale, right? We love to watch the underdog use logic, reasoning, and rationale to transcend the circumstances, the situation. That's what I do here on Lead with Logic. I try to promote the critical thought and promote using that logic and reason that will get us over. Every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can find me right here doing what I do, man. And even if I'm not in this setting, you'll still find me teaching those how to lead with logic. Today we're gonna do something that I hadn't done in a good while, right? Which is I'm gonna send out some notifications. You know what? No, actually, no, I'm not. I'm gonna just go ahead go on with the show and send it out afterwards. I do that because I want to try to get what I need to get in for that hour. Man, hopefully you guys enjoyed your time off of work. It's Labor Day weekend, so people got 3-day weekend. Maybe you got 4 if you were fortunate. But it's a whole lot going on, man. Whole lot that has gone on inside of media, inside of the world. You know, the world moves at such an ultramagnetic pace. I try to keep my boots laced so that I can always be in a position to win the race. And it's just crazy what has been going on, right? If you guys have been keeping up within the culture, you've seen a few things, right? We've seen where Young Thug, which Young Thug is a rapper. He went through an infamous trial that was held in Atlanta where he got, I want to say, 40 years of probation. And we saw a whole lot of media theatrics. It was a whole lot of things that happened. Whole lot of things that happened. And he's back in the news, right? In the inner city, in the inner culture. Thug is back in the news because there's allegedly some footage of Thug snitching, right? Some footage of him snitching. So we're gonna get into a little bit of that. And again, we're not gonna talk about it because of just the occurrence. We're gonna talk about the relevancy. Why is that even relevant to Black culture? Why is that relevant? Why should we consider that? It's very relevant. The next thing is that school shooting that happened in Minneapolis, Minnesota, at a Catholic school. That's a private school, you guys. That was a little bit. Well, it wasn't even a little bit. It was a bit traumatic, to say the least. I was, having school age children myself. It's like, man, we have to do better. It really, really, really makes people look more toward the homeschool option, because when in America are we going to now resolve or absolve this problem of security and of school slayings? When parents send their children off to school, they certainly do not expect to get a call saying that they've been killed. So we'll talk about, show a little bit about that. And also this occupation, right? This occupation, I talked about this, I want to say in the last 3 lives that I've done, this occupation in the inner cities. First, it was Washington, D.C. Next, it's Chicago, right? Where I lived, where I'm from. But, it's Chicago, Illinois, right? They're having people, they're having the feds come in, and people are not too excited about that. People have been speaking out about this, right? They've been talking about it. They've been like, we don't want that. We don't, this is not something that we appreciate, right? Or at least that's what I've been seeing. I've been seeing a whole lot of that. And it's like, oh wow, that's crazy. That's very, very crazy. And so it's something. But now, like I said, we're gonna get into a little bit of it. You know, and I'm gonna go to Instagram. It's a lot of good information. If you want, what I find about Instagram is, if you want short spurts of information real fast, right? Boom, hit you real quick. Go to Instagram, right? Or even X. Sometimes X is good for that too. Not I, X is not too much good for, in my eyes, good for anything else. But I mean, you at least get some good news on there, right? But you get that little short hit of news that you can get the news, get a good reference, and get moving. And so I saw something on Instagram that I'm gonna pull up for you guys, that I'm gonna show. I'm gonna show that you guys can watch. And it deals with a lot of this stuff with Young Thug, right? Because he was shown on cam uh talking to police, snitching. Now anybody that knows anything about the judicial system knows this. It's set up and it's constructed for you to snitch, for you to tell. Why? Because they want the biggest whale. They don't want the small guppies. They don't want the small fish, right? If you're a low level dealer, meaning, or a low level goon, meaning you're told, you're down on the totem pole, you're a made man, you're a capo regime, you know, you're a hitman, you know what I'm saying? You any of these titles, you are not the shot caller. You're not the boss. They don't want you. They want who orchestrated, right? And they're giving football numbers. And so, when you think about that, when you consider that, it's like, ooh, and they're giving, and then they added and implemented the RICO, right? Racketeering, influence, crime organization, right? This is even worse because now they can now speculate, and you can be charged off of speculation, right? If they want to really put you away, only thing they have to do is begin speculating. Okay, well, we put this dot with this dot, put them together, and boom, we have a case. So it's really, youngsters, it's really set up for you to snitch. It's really set up for you to snitch. But now it's so many young children that are influenced and impacted by these street codes, right? That's the thing. People now, children, and even in some instances, grown men, it gets to be a nuanced perspective, right? Because we have all, I know in the black community, I was influenced by hip hop music. That was a gauge of manhood for me, right? That was something that defined masculinity for me, right? These lyrics and what these rappers, what these street poets were saying, right? And to a young undeveloped mind, right, a person below 25 whose medulla oblongata is not formed yet, this can be misconstrued with reality. And so, yeah, sometimes I misconstrued that stuff. I luckily had people in my life to tell me, nah, that's not it, bruh. That's not it at all. That is not it. And so, yeah, but I want to show you guys, I want to show you a clip because it's, you should on Insta. I saw this and I saw, wow, I thought, wow, this is crazy. Young Thug, and it's all over the place. Young Thug, let me do this. Let me send it to myself. Young Thug was snitching. I was like, wow, why is that relevant? That's relevant because a lot of people are influenced by those guys. A lot of people are influenced. So I'm gonna find this for you guys. Forgive me. Forgive the kid. Forgive the kid. Hopefully, you guys Labor Day is good. You didn't eat too much pork, too much pig. Hope you didn't do it too big. Guess what? Because you are what you eat, right? If you eat turkey on Thanksgiving, well, guess what? You a gobble gobble. Yeah, you a gobble gobble. So yes. Hold on, I'm gonna send y'all something else. Yes, but this whole snitching thing with this whole snitching thing with Young Thug, it's wild. It's wild. It is so wild. Yeah, it's I'm about to I'm gonna pull it up now. Let's pull this up, man. I'm gonna show you guys what I'm talking about. Hopefully, you guys that watch it back, you get you get to see. Here we go. Here we go. Now, it's not necessarily important what happened because I know a lot of people who aren't plugged in, who don't tune into hip hop, they care less. You know, this is just another. This is just another. Some more foolishness, right? Just more foolishness. Just more purity foolishness. And I understand that. But what you do have to understand and what you have to admit is that, man, hip hop music has a stronghold on the children, and it has a stronghold subsequently on black culture because these are the things that we are. These are the things that are influencing people.
That
Listen to
we
this.
are witnessing little by little, city by city. Kids are seeing how stupid this street shit is. Kids are seeing how pointless glorifying this bullshit is because the niggas who promote it don't even follow the fucking rules that they try to apply on others. It's a destructive, degenerate mindset. You have grown men damn near or well into their 30s. Some of them are approaching their 40s, still trying to fucking play street politics. Nigga, go raise your kids. And if you a grown ass man, the only reason why you should be willing to go to jail is behind protecting your wife or kids. If you are willing to sit in a jail, a prison, a penitentiary for years, decades on end, protecting another man for a gang code, away from women, away from your kids, you might got some sugar in your tank. You might be on the DL, nigga. I'm so glad that we are witnessing little by little, city by city, kids are seeing how stupid this street shit is.
Little by little, city by city, kids are seeing how stupid this street shit is. On my Lead with Logic page, I posted, "This is my appreciation for Good Time Charlie." Good Time Charlie being Charleston White, because what he's doing is he is single handedly undoing what uh, massively the music industry, or at least the hip hop genre, some aspects of the hip hop, the gangster shit that they would love to advocate and show you uh, more prominently. He's throwing rocks at it. He's throwing rocks at that wall of Jericho. And when things like this happen, it makes those walls, it makes those rocks turn into boulders, and it makes those walls come tumbling down. Because a lot of that shit is we too old for that. Really, no age should glorify that shit. None. It, you don't have to be 30 going into 40. It's not good for the young mind either. Young people don't need to be, it's wild. It's wild. It's so wild that you don't even want your children to now listen to this kind of shit. And I'm listen, as I say this as a child of it, as a product of it. I grew up on these things. Too Short, NWA, right? Snoop Dogg, but I also heard De La Soul, Tribe Called Quest, Common, Most Def, Kweli, Black Thought, you know what I mean? AZ cats like that. But at the same time, when you talk about mainstream, when you talk about in the inner city, what is prominent, what these young people are being influenced by, what's impacting what they see as masculinity, what's impacting what they see as a boss, it's these bullshit street politics, right? And they've evolved, man. They've really evolved because, again, it used to be a time when non combatants did not have to fear for their lives. People who were not a part of that culture did not have to fear with being molested or touched. Now, there's no code, there are no rules. Everybody is a target, nobody is off limits. And so, what that does is it makes our community more dangerous, more hostile, and it robs us of the very essence that we need to build to be respectable. We can't even learn properly sometimes because we too goddamn worried about, you know, either the motherfucker who, you know, is so brainwashed and conditioned by this, or we're the one who is trying to keep on top of it, right? There's a show called Rock back in the 90s, and there was a scene on Rock because my man Chauncey, I forget the actor, Clifton Powell, right? Wonderful actor. He played Andre for you youngsters who don't remember Rock. He played Andre, and Andre was the neighborhood drug dealer. Him and Rock didn't get along. Well, they grew to have a mutual respect, but in the latter seasons, a boy was killed in a drive-by by a boy who looked up to Andre, and Rock went to him to plea and said, "Listen, talk to this dude about, talk to this cat about um what he's done." And he was apprehensive at first, but then he saw the wisdom in what Rock was teaching him, and he went and talked to the boy, and the boy sounded like he was so enthused about killing another black boy, right? He was so excited about it. He was so excited to tell this drug dealer. He said, "Oh man, I can do a day, Andre. I can do 10 years. I can do that on my neck." He said, "You gonna do 10 years in somebody's arms, punk." And he really began to tell him what it means to be in the prison culture. He really began to tell him what it means to live the life that he lived. He really began to explain to him, you don't want this life. This is not what you want. And that's a metaphor, right? That is a microcosm of how a lot of our young people think. Far too many of them, right? And they need to see these walls begin to now tumble down. They need to see how this street code, these street politics, is not even what they're sold as, right? It's not even something that these people who we think are upholding this standard. They're not upholding it. And that's the relevance of a young thug and what we've seen. That's why the internet is on fire. That's why it's buzzing, because that absolutely is a mentality that a lot of people within the black community have. Here's Good Time Charlie talking about it.
So now Young Thug done come out snitching. Young Thug got a video in the interrogation room for 2 hours having dialogue with the police about crime and criminals. But he don't want to work with Gunna. Come on, homie, look at the hypocrisy. So God made me the sacrificial lamb. That's why I have gotten this far, because I have been attacking evil. They've been saying I've been evil, but that's why God won't let nothing happen. happened to me because though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. I've been speaking against evil, my. So who gonna hurt if somebody speaking against evil? They preach evil. They go commit crimes and put it on songs. That's how they was able to give them. And they use the songs against them. So Boosie killed 9 people, went to trial for 5. Used a 16-year-old to kill 5 people, and this kid didn't make over $50,000. He paid $2,000 per hit. And people saying God on his side. You're not when he got a 15-year-old doing life in prison. And by the way, I helped work on that law to try to get this kid out. It's called JLWOP, juvenile life without parole. I went to Washington, D.C. over 4 or 5 times. We got it abolished, but you know what? They didn't make it retroactive for the boy Boosie used. So that's why this is personal to me. I ain't got to explain that to y'all. Why he picking on Boosie? Because I fight to get Marlo Mike out. He'll die in there as a baby. He was 15 years old with 9 bodies. He went to go tell because he couldn't sleep at night. Boosie sleep good at night because he didn't pull the trigger. That baby can't sleep.
At 9.
Why you throwing your pool party? That baby had 9 bodies. 15 years old. And he committed them all. He had to get it out of his heart. My wife went to the police and told. Can't sleep at night. You done killed 9 people. You can't tell nobody about it. And you a baby? He was a baby. And y'all got more mercy for Boosie. And still rap about what he being on death row. And he cried. He was in protective custody. Ask Eric Brown, who was in Angola with him. And look, East Solid. Bit Boosie a hoe. That's why I want to get him in the boxing ring and on his diabetic jaw.
Yeah, that was just a clip. That was a clip of Good Time Charlie. That was a clip of Good Time Charlie. A lot of people don't like Good Time Charlie. I love him because I see him for what he really is. I see him as a black man who absolutely does work in his community, but he's figured out his niche and his lane online. He's created an avatar that has gotten him not only attention, clicks, and views and viral moments, but it's also helped him to build an empire for his family. And you should watch that video. Watch that whole entire interview with Good Time Charlie and Anton Daniels. He talks about how a book, The Revolution, will not be funded, and he talks about how a Jewish lady taught him how to do for self, right? And again, it's so relevant and so familiar because a lot of what he's saying, you hear people like Honorable Elijah Muhammad say, you hear people like Marcus Garvey say, you hear people like the Father say that, right? It starts with learning how to do for self, selling t-shirts, selling hats, selling something so that you don't have to beg people, because begging people is so cringy. It minimizes your humanity. At least it does for mine. But yeah. So we saw, right? We saw a lot of the frustration, and you heard what the brother in the car said at first. Hey, this is the undoing of a cultural staple that should have been undone years ago. We should have been past that, right? And then you see Charleston White, who has helped with young people to help young people who have committed crimes, right? You see how passionate he is, and you kind of understand. And to its extent, we should all be passionate like that. We all had a brother, a cousin, an uncle, maybe a father, maybe a mother who was strangled or trampled within the system. And we all know children. You know, I'm a father, man, and I'm a father who don't like his children to associate with all children because I look, listen, and observe. I look, listen, and observe the children, and I look, listen, and observe their parents. And if I conclude that the child is being reared, being raised to go to the penitentiary, and that your family is not trying to derail that, why would I want you around my children? If you're too impacted with this hood culture, this deaf culture, why would I want you around my precious cargo? What sense would that make? Brothers and sisters, you have to be mindful of that. You have to find people within your community that are not just like hued, but are like minded and that are going the places where you're trying to go. It's not enough that you just hang around people that look like you. Those days are dead. You need to be around people who not only, if you, yeah, they look like you, but they got your mentality more so than anything. That's more important than what they look like. It's how they think. What's their perspective? What are their goals? What are their objectives? What are their aims? Right? And as a parent, I would think that you would be unapologetic, right? And who it is that you allow around your kids. Because I read to y'all a couple of lives ago, the ancestor, Jawanza Kunjufu, he talked about how in the 50s in the black family, the parents, the church, and school used to be the biggest impact, the biggest influences. Now it's the peer group, it's the music, and it's the media. These are the biggest impact. These are the biggest influences on our children today. So yeah, um, that YSL thing, that Young Thug thing, it was good. That's a revelation. That's a great revelation that was necessary, right? Because it now shows us, or it shows young people that the street politics, the black politic, the black subculture of street, it's a dead end street. It's a dead end. I know that, it's a dead, it's not going anywhere. There's no retirement there, right? It's either the penitentiary or the cemetery, right? The ones that are fortunate, they make it out. They make it out. Who we got here? Okay. Now we got my man tapped in. I see you. I appreciate that, brother. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let me now. Let me now put this up as well for you guys. I'm gonna put the website up. Go and get your hat, hoodies, and tees. If you enjoy Logic, I need you to go to Lead with Logic. I put it right there, leadwithlogic7.com. If you enjoy Logic, going over to that site and grab something. If you enjoy Reasoning and Rationale, go to that site and grab something. If you just enjoying the podcast, go to the site and grab something. Next up, what do we have here? We have the school shooting that happened in Minneapolis. I think we're going to get into, I'm going to show you guys what the news reporter said, how it was reported, how it came across. And it's so unfortunate, it's so unfortunate. It's so unfortunate. You know, here it is. Children inside of a cathedral, literally praying something as demonic or someone as demonic as this person would now latch the doors shut, right? So that there could be no exit, and then begin to fire inside of this cathedral. I only feel for the parents and the family members, those children, first and foremost, those children whose lives were snatched from them, the kids that were inside who had to witness that, because now this is going to be a domino effect. There will be therapy that needs to be had, lifelong therapy that will have to be had behind this heinous act, right? There will be therapy. Yeah, I'm gonna let you guys see this. This is horrible. This is horrible. When I saw it, I said, "Wow," because we had something like that last year in Georgia in October. We had Appalachian, right? The high school where the young man went in there and killed the teacher and shot some more people as well. But I just want to share this with you so that you can see for yourself what is going on.
And welcome back here to Live Now from Fox. I'm Andrew Crafton, our continuing coverage of the mass shooting just yesterday at Annunciation Church and School that left 2 young children dead and 18 others injured. The FBI says it's investigating the attack at the Catholic Church as an act of domestic terrorism. 2 children died. Like I said, police say the number of injured students has now climbed to 15. Fox News multimedia reporter Kennedy Hayes. She's live outside the very church in Minneapolis with the latest on the investigation. She joins me. Kennedy, what more do we know at this hour?
Yeah, well, the FBI is investigating this as a hate crime. Police are still looking into a motive, but we learned that the suspect was obsessed with mass shootings and he wanted to gain fame from this attack. I'm going to step aside so you can see where I am now. This is the scene of where this tragedy occurred. And today, of course, the community coming together, leaving flowers as this memorial grows, and there is a long road of grieving and healing ahead. This is where police say a shooter opened fire through the windows of this Catholic church, killing 2 children ages 8 and 10. We now know the medical examiner identified those children as 8-year-old Fletcher Merkel and 10-year-old Harper Moisky. This afternoon, officials shared some more disturbing details about the attack and the shooter's mindset.
The shooter wanted to kill children, defenseless children. The shooter was obsessed with the idea of killing children. The shooter saw the attack as a way to target our most vulnerable among us while they were at their most vulnerable at school and at church.
Last night, more than 1,000 people came out to honor the victims. The injured students range in age from 6 to 15. Health officials say another child was hospitalized today, but is expected to be okay. 3 adult worshipers were also injured in the attack. One student said a classmate took a bullet to shield his friend, and investigators say the suspect was a former student at the school and his mom once worked there. Police say the shooter used a rifle, shotgun, and pistol, firing dozens of rounds from outside the church before committing suicide. Overnight, FBI agents executed search warrants on the suspect's home and vehicle, recovering more weapons. The FBI says they found multiple anti-religious references on those guns, and they also removed a manifesto the suspect posted on YouTube. Now, police also say they confirm that the suspect tried to barricade people inside this church during the attack. They say if those church doors weren't locked, this could have been a lot worse. And Minnesota's Governor Tim Walz has said he's going to increase police presence throughout the state for at least a few months. Some good news, though, only 2 children remain in the hospital. Andrew.
Kennedy, I have to ask, because this shooter went to the school, his mom worked at the school. Have you spoken to anyone who knows them or is familiar with the family?
I have not, and I can tell you it's difficult being out here. You hear people sobbing as they drop off flowers to remember the victims. Even just trying to get interviews. Understandably, it's very tough for people to talk about this. But I can say, out of this tragedy, a lot of positive sentiment of the community coming together, wanting to do what they can to donate and remember those 2 lives lost.
All right, Kennedy Hayes there live for us in Minneapolis. Kennedy, thanks so much. Talk soon. Okay, in the meantime here, yes, that's the headline that we have for you now, the development in this story. And it does come usually the day after in these type of stories, mass casualty incidents, mass shootings, who the victims were. These victims, an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old, we now know who they are. I want to put this up. This post there from Seth Kaplan at Fox 9 in Minneapolis with a photo saying, "This is Harper Moisky. She was killed while sitting in Mass at Annunciation Church, waiting for the school day to begin. Her family says she was a bright, joyful, and deeply loved 10-year-old whose laughter, kindness, and spirit touched everyone who knew her." And he says, remember Harper. You see her there, 10 years old. We also have another post on X as well with the other victim in this from Fox's Brooke Taylor. She says, the father of one of the victims, 8-year-old Fletcher Merkel, just spoke and said, quote, "Yesterday, a coward decided to take our 8-year-old son Fletcher away from us because of their actions, saying we will never be allowed to hold him, talk to him, play with him, and watch him grow into the wonderful young man he was on the path to becoming. Saying, please remember Fletcher for the person he was and not the act that ended his life. Saying, give your kids an extra hug and kiss today," with a photo there of Fletcher Merkel. So Fletcher Merkel right there, 8 years old. And you see him. Also, 10-year-old Harper Moisky.
That's wild. That's wild. That's very wild and very unfortunate. And again, my heart goes out to the family of those children who were killed and also of those children who were injured. I was watching a film over the weekend called For Colored Girls Only. Felicia Rashad, Janet Jackson, Loretta Devine, Kerry Washington, Anika Nani Rose. What's the sister's name from Set It Off? Not Latifah, not Vivica Fox, not Jada, but the other one. Can't think of her name. Nonetheless, there's a scene in there where the lady who I can't think of her name, what's my man, Pretty Ricky, Michael Ealy, his name, the cat from Takers, Why I Think Like a Man, light skin, pretty cat. He's an out of work alcoholic, and his mental position or his mental station is very, very dark and is very, very volatile. And he ends up taking the children out of the window from the 5th floor and dropping them right down onto the sidewalk for the community to witness. And of course, she's super traumatized. The community who witnesses this is traumatized, right? But now, she goes into a depression, which is to be expected. And the mother of Black American media, Felicia Rashad, she says something that I want to say. She says, you got to take some accountability in this. And she says, are you saying this is my fault? You trying to say this is my fault? I'm trying to say until you take accountability in this, you're going to be just waiting to die, right? However much blame you need to put on yourself, that's on you. But you have to recognize that you played a role in this. What am I saying? What are you saying, Brother Faheem? Is America causing for these children to be killed? Well, we saw Appalachia happen last year. We saw Uvalde happen where those babies were shot in the face. We've seen hundreds of public places be desecrated and be violated by demons and devils. And it's gotten to the point where no place is deemed neutral or holy anymore, right? The babies are now at risk. And so at what point does America say, hey, we need to do better about security? I know in Georgia they are spending so many millions to upgrade security measures and to implement different apparatuses, right? Metal detectors, things of that sort. This should be, or when will it be, the norm? Because if you listen to the news clip, the shooter was infatuated with school shootings. So that means that the broadcast, right? The heavy notoriety that these people give to these school shooters, these massive shooters, is doing two things. It's scaring the hell out of the people, but it's also giving ideas to young people who have a demonic mindset, a Michael Myers type of mentality where they just want to kill. They just want to kill. Now, again, I was watching Good Time Charlie, and he said something that made sense. He said, black schools, you don't really hear about massive school shootings, do you? Because they're already treated like prisons. They're already heavily secured. They're already intensely monitored. Yeah, fights happen, bullying happen. Somebody might even get caught with a gun in school. This is the truth, right? It might be a shooting around the school, on the school ground, but not something as diabolical as somebody just aiming into innocent babies. I mean, it doesn't get more innocent. These children are in there literally praying, literally getting ready to start the school year. But America, maybe we need to do something about that. It is my perspective that whenever you are at, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, whenever you are at a large gathering, somebody need to be strapped. I will repeat, when you are at a large gathering, somebody needs to be legally armed, because it has gotten to the point, and this will only continue, right? Insanity is doing the same thing over and over, but expecting different results. If we are not to lock down schools, if we are not to secure them, what can we expect? I mean, that's not a cultural staple for black folks. That's not something that we do. However, when we are in these suburbs, when we are in these private schools, we too are affected, because why? Bullets don't say, oh, that's a black person, let me look over them. Oh, that's Faheem, I ain't gonna go to him, I'm gonna go to little Jenny over there. No, everybody gets everybody can lose their life. And again, this ain't a black or white thing per se, people getting killed. This is an American thing, right? This is crazy. This is crazy. I remember when in Uvalde, when those people were withheld from the cops, stopped those parents from going in to help them babies, and they heard with their ears the children being murdered and slaughtered, being shot. Them kids were typing and texting their parents, hey, there's a gunman in here. Hey, they're shooting and killing people. Hey, I'm gonna die. So, yeah, you know, I'm a citizen who believes in his Second Amendment right. I believe in following all the laws, but I also believe that my home is my castle, and I also believe in the right to stand my ground. And in today's age, where children are now being slaughtered and massacred by copycats, by people who aim to get some fame, I think it would be wise if we protected and we had a security force, right? Not just within our sub nation, but within our nation abroad, because that's a senseless act that did not have to happen. These children do not have to die. Wow. You mean to tell me that person had all the time to go and try to lock the doors and then go post up and shoot from inside? And I get it. This was a person who attended the school, who had a mother who was on faculty or on staff at the school. But still, it makes me say, wow, I'm glad at my children's school, they got that shit pent down like Fort Knox. You take it for granted, man. Because, sometimes you go up to the school and you be inconvenienced by the security measures. Damn, why they don't just let me in? Don't they know me? Well, that's why. That's why they don't just let you in, because they don't know where your headspace is. Yeah, but that was something that was crazy. But yeah, America, as long as you allow these type of things, as long as there's no township, as long as you allowing people to just get in, as long as you allowing the snake to get into the hen house and get with the chickens, the chicklets, right? As long as you allowing the fox in the chicken coop, they're gonna be devoured. They are gonna be devoured. There's only one animal that does not have a defense mechanism, y'all, and that's the sheep. And guess what? The sheep has the shepherd. The sheep has the shepherd. Let's see if anybody has commented. Yes, we are Army of Three. Again, I should have said this at the beginning, man. If you're on Facebook, man, please repost. Send this message to somebody that you know, loves reasoning, rationale, and logic. If you have this YouTube, if you're watching it on YouTube, hey man, share out the live, share out the link. It's easy to share that link out. Like and subscribe. You dig what I'm saying? Like and subscribe. Inner city occupancy. Now, again, this is something that I'm retouching on, because again, I've been seeing things where people are talking about Trump now going to Chicago, right? He's going to Chicago, y'all. He went from DC and now he's going to Chicago. Now, I showed the stats about DC and how DC was one of the highest crime rated cities in America, right? I showed you guys that. And Chicago is up there as well. This is something that's not common. This is not anything unfamiliar with the residents of Chicago. I was talking to one of my brothers from Chicago, and I was asking him, I said, hey, listen, do you think that we need federal occupancy? And he said, I don't know if I'm the guy to ask, because we've been living amongst this shit so long. We've kind of become immune to it. We recognize it. That's not to say that issues do not exist, right? But we've kind of learned and we've become accustomed. You learn how to compensate with things, even if it's something negative, right? You become somewhat immune. You become somewhat immune. And so yeah, he was like, I don't know. But I want to I want to show you guys because I thought this was interesting. This was very interesting to me. When I saw the clip come on, I said, "Oh wow, this is funny. This is funny, and welcome is for y'all. I appreciate you guys. I really do. I really, really do. I really do. So I want to show you guys a little something. First, we're gonna see what the governor and the mayor have to say about Trump. I want you guys to see this. This is funny. It was funny to me when I saw it because I thought, wow, okay. Let's hear what the good people are going to say.
President, do not come to Chicago. You are neither wanted here nor needed here.
The governor of Illinois. Other things he said today: unprecedented, unwarranted, illegal, unconstitutional, un-American. All of these words used by Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, who says he has had no conversations with the president about deploying National Guard troops to Chicago. That city actually seeing a historic drop in violent crimes in the first half of 2025. Despite this, it's the city that President Trump says he has his eye on.
To the public servants who have forsaken their oath to the Constitution to serve the petty whims of an arrogant little man. To any federal official who would come to Chicago and try to incite my people into violence as a pretext for something darker and more dangerous, we are watching and we are taking names. President, do not.
Yeah. Hold on. He said we're watching and taking in. This is what the mayor has to say.
Legal action, will be on the table. But I want to make something perfectly clear. These individuals are not being sent to cities to police cities because they're not trained to police. These are soldiers. They don't go through the training that our police officers go through. In fact, it is quite hypocritical on the part of the president to even suggest such a move, and it is destabilizing for the city of Washington, D.C. Look, crime is down in Chicago. Crime is down. There is more work for us to do, but he wasn't adamant about ensuring that the $830 million of funding that he took away from community violence prevention and intervention. Legal action, will be on the table. But I want.
So that was what the mayor was saying. This was a trick. This was a scam. And that he didn't, if he really wanted to help, he wouldn't have taken some things politically.
I've been living here for 57 years, and I feel very safe in Chicago.
This is what I'm going to show as well. So we've seen the governor. We've seen the mayor. Now we're going to let some of the residents talk, right? The people who are on ground zero. Let's see what they think. Let's see what they have to say about this.
I think it's a very safe community. I travel a lot, and I go to a lot of other places that are much more drug infested and than Chicago.
A veces sales y realmente no quieres salir porque hay mucho vandalismo, muchos robos, mucha agresión en las calles y es lo que a veces no me siento muy segura cuando salgo.
The last 12 months, the nation has seen a 20% decline in homicide. Chicago has seen a 30% decline in homicide. Chicago is doing better than the rest of the country on a lot of really important measures.
I don't feel that it's necessary to send troops to Chicago. It's not necessarily something that should be utilized in our time span. I think that if that was necessary, things would be a lot different here in Chicago.
We shouldn't feel threatened by the federal government if they come, because we're in the United States and they run the country, and we elected them and put them in office. So they should be there to help us, not scare us.
He full of crap. He got a building here, Trump Tower. He can't think it's that big a killing field. He wouldn't have built a building there if he felt like that for real. And if they do bring troops here, the only place they're going to put them at is where the rich folks is. So it's nonsense.
So we heard from the governor, the mayor, and a few of the residents. Not too many, right? Now, last week I showed you where that sister went to that city hall and called the mayor out. They didn't show that, right? What I thought was funny was whenever they're showing these people talking about not bringing the federal troops, they're showing you downtown, right? They're showing you Magnificent Mile. They're showing you Lakeshore Drive. They're showing you all of these safe areas in Chicago, right? It's like when people come to your house, you show them the pretty and the cleaned up rooms, right? You show them, where you've washed and waxed and swept and all this good shit, right? But you don't show them the dirt. You don't show them where you swept it all up under the rug. You don't show them the closet where you put all the trash and shit that you couldn't find nowhere to get, where you couldn't find nowhere to put it. You don't show that. You don't show the junk that you've been hoarding for years and how you tucked it up under the bed. That's not what you show. What's your point, Faheem? My point is they're not showing residents from Inglewood, Chatham, right? The 100s, Halsted. They're not showing these people, right? They're not showing people from the west side of Chicago. They're not showing people who are on ground zero in areas and communities that have been crime ridden since the 80s, 70s, and the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So yeah, absolutely. While there are people who are saying we do not want Trump. And I remember when Trump first campaigned, right? Y'all go back when he first campaigned in 2016 or 2015, when he went to Chicago, do y'all remember they said they didn't want him at the national convention? Y'all remember that? They said, oh, we don't want Trump here. He don't need to come here. It was a big kerfuffle in Chicago, right? So the people have, and a lot of that is politics, right? Chicago is a blue city, just like Atlanta is a blue city, right? Except the only difference between Chicago and Atlanta is a blue city in a red state. So it's a drop of blue in a sea of red. Illinois is blue. Illinois is a blue state. They have unions. They have all that good stuff in Illinois. In Georgia, nah. This is strictly for the corporation. But I say all that to say there's been a history of there being a disdain for Donald Trump in in the Chicagoland area. But my only thing is, man, talk to the people on ground zero. I'm sitting here on Instagram now looking. I'm looking for people who have a perspective, who are on ground zero in Chicago, how they feel about Trump coming. Because I saw something one day and people were saying, hey, we would appreciate the same thing people were saying in DC, right? You had those people, those voices who were saying, don't come here. This is unlawful. This is unconstitutional. But then you had those people who have been living amongst criminals and crime and who have lost friends and loved ones and families who absolutely are for an external entity to come in and help clean it up. There are those voices as well. Now, they're not going to put those voices in front of you, but they absolutely exist. I'm merely saying this: get the wealth, get the entirety of the community, and let's see what they have to say, because I guarantee you there are those residents who want nothing but peace for themselves, for their families, and for their communities. And if they cannot get that, if they cannot control the crime, if they cannot get a hold, or they cannot grasp what's going on, if they can't utilize local politics, local government, or even national state level government, i.e. the governor, then why not? Why would it be a problem for Donald Trump? Why would there be any trouble in him coming? Again, I see it. They're saying crime is down in Chicago. It's no need to do that. I understand that, right? I also understand people on the left are saying, well, he needs to do that in red states. Absolutely. Let's be fair across the board. I'm merely saying here, when they show you, brothers and sisters, on television, these people who are voices against, or at least on the left wing side, right? They'll show you all the voices that are against it. Man, they, we don't want them to come here. This is unlawful. We are going to make you guys, we're going to fight you guys. Man, you're going to get them civilians killed. The mayor done already told you, these ain't police. These are soldiers. I.e., they know to kill. They shoot to kill. So let me tell y'all, soldiers take orders. That's what soldiers do. Soldiers don't think. They don't ask questions. Obedience don't look like understanding. That's a soldier's mentality. You do as you told. Yeah, you do as you told. So when they go in there, I get it. I get what the mayor was saying. These people are going to shoot to kill. They're going to be trying to get rid of people, But I mean, hey, I don't like one-time violence either, arbitrary violence against civilians, right? Against good tax-paying, law-abiding people. But at the same time, there needs to be a deeper look into why people would even say, hey, we are for the federal troops coming in, right? And it has to go past, I'm not for, or I'm against that political party, right? It has to go against that. I mean, that can't be the justification. They have to look at why people feel this way. Like, I understand it. I understand why people are saying, hey, we do not want you to come here, right? Because essentially, like the mayor said, funds were gutted from other aspects of government, right? But also, we don't want you to take over our state, and crime is down. That's fair. But now, hey, those people who are in those communities who are on ground zero, you have to take into consideration what they have to say as well. Because several of them are like, hey, listen, tell them to come on. Tell them to come on. And I know, and you guys know, within the community, these inner cities, black cities, have been bad for years. They've been bad for years, man. And it ain't just Chicago and DC. It's Memphis. It's Baltimore. It's all of these places. These places have been horrible, right? Not for people on the outside, for the occupants, for the people that live there, right? There's a group of people that are oppressed within their own community who want to get some sort of relief. And if they can't get it from local or state government, and the federal government comes in, hey, it is what it is. I would say local government and state government, like Trump told rest his soul, John Lewis, hey man, take care of your shithole district before you try to talk about how I'm running the nation. Let's make sure that we are taking care of these places, man. Right? Let's make sure that everything is on the up and up. Whatever that means. That means with the economy. That means with the healthcare. That means all aspects, and with crime and violence, right? All aspects that would that would make it necessary for those forces outside of who's already on ground to come in. Because I'm not again. Hey, if you can't do it, I'm for somebody getting it done. If I can't do it, whenever you ask people for help, and somebody gonna say, but they ain't asking for help. They reviewing. Well, them numbers are saying they asking for help, right? Obviously, the people, obviously he's looking. It's some reason why he wants to send them people there, right? So, man, get these cities in shape, man. Red or blue, it don't matter, right? And I agree. If you're gonna send them into the blue, send them into the red. I agree. Send them both. Don't just send them to the party you're affiliated with. Send them both. Hey, man, if you're not doing your job, it don't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat. I'm gonna send in my soldiers. But yeah, man, we have to take into consideration the totality of this whole thing, man, and look at it like, hey, why is he doing that, and what are we doing? How can we help? Right? How can we help? Are we going to police meetings? Are we teaching our children respect for authority and police? Right? uh, you know, are we holding ourselves accountable? The optimum thing is that we hold ourselves accountable, that we, like Chuck D said, we got to keep ourselves in check. That's the optimum thing. And if you cannot do that, if our culture, which our culture has become somewhat of a decadent culture when it comes to respect of elders and authority, hey man, this is what it leads to. This is what it leads to. People coming in. So listen, that is my time, and I didn't want to stay on here too long. I don't want to take up too much of you guys' labor. I know some of y'all are at the barbecue. Maybe when you watch this, it'll be a day later or maybe a few days later. But hey man, I appreciate you guys coming through. Like Minister Malcolm always said, may we all meet again in the light of understanding, and be on the lookout for what I got going on next.